I think just like a piece of work with the portfolio is a little better with the reflection just because then it shows what you've done to like help fix that problem.
I think that it was more meaningful to just make the portfolio post about our goals and learning values.
I think it's more meaningful to make portfolio posts around the learning values because it will show how you improved. But if you're just adding a piece of work, it won't be as meaningful.
To be honest, I didn't really think of it like that, and I kind of just wrote it and usually don't give thought into it.
I think adding in the learning values made it a lot more meaningful and a lot more personal because I could really like elaborate and like talk about like instead of just like a certain thing in school, like how it connects to me and how like something I set for myself to focus on, like if I'm actually completing that, if I'm actually focusing on that.
I was writing it once a week about one specific thing. There's not that much information. Like, I don't find it very meaningful to write about those values because in our classes we don't actually really write about this. What we end up doing is we write about like something that we've done over the weekend or like just our general life. I mean, I just don't find that very helpful.
It's more meaningful to add a piece of work to the portfolio with some reflection because then you get to look back on your work, not only just your life, because that's when it's really coming into play into your work. Your learning value is supposed to boost your work. I also don't think that my learning value post really centered around my learning values, and I don't think it was really helpful. It was just something I kind of checked off the list.
We didn't really use the learning values that much. Like, teachers didn't really remind us to, so we didn't really think about it. We just kind of wrote what we felt. I mean, like, I think I included the learning values just because I've like thought about them ever since 5th grade because like we always talk about them. I didn't think about writing about them. I just sort of did.
Whenever I did just a post about some piece of work I done some random piece of work, I always incorporated my learning values.
I actually don't think many of us made these posts around our learning values just because a lot of the time during the blog posts on every Tuesday, we didn't have much to talk about. So we kind of, I guess, jabbered on and didn't really kind of made like an unnecessary blog post because we had to do it every Tuesday. I think it might be better if we just do the blog posts as maybe on like days or like times when we have a big project that we just finished and we know we have something to talk about.
I think it's probably important to post about both of them so your advisor and your parents can know when they look at your blog.
I think it was just more meaningful to add work to the portfolio with some reflection because that way you just structure around it.
It was a little bit more meaningful to make a portfolio post about these learning values compared to just reflecting on something because you can write more about something and there's more like you have more creativity and more space to write about what you want compared to reflecting on something such as like an essay you wrote. And I kind of like that more because I enjoy to write about that more than something that I just put into the portfolio and respond to that and reflect on that.
When we're posting a piece of work with the reflection, it does most of the time have something to do with the learning values, even if we haven't identified them, because they are so specific to each and every person. So I think that, for me at least, it's easier to do it when you're reflecting on a specific piece of work rather than the learning values in general.